Hello, I am Sridhar. Today we'll have the topic why go international for our business, in our business. Okay, and this is a cold reading. Okay, the script has not been viewed or being read earlier. This is the first time I'm reading from the book directly, and hope few of you might like uh, have good time uh, listening to my narration here. Okay, let's begin. Why go international? There are several answers to the question why firms go international. The factors which motivate or provoke firms to go international may be broadly divided into two groups: pull factors and push factors. The pull factors, most of which are provocative reasons, are those forces of attraction which pull the business to the foreign markets. In the other words, companies are motivated to internationalize because of the attractiveness of the foreign market. Such attractions include broadly the relative profitability and growth prospects. The push factors refer to the compulsions of domestic market such as saturation of the market which prompt companies to internationalize. Most of the push factors are reactive reasons. Important reasons for going international as for going international are described as follows. Profit advantage. As important incentive for international business is the profit advantage. International business could be more profitable than the domestic. There are cases of companies which earn more than 100% of the total profit from foreign markets, in which case the domestic operation obviously resulted in loss. Even when international business is less profitable than the domestic, it could increase the total profit. Further, in certain cases, international business can help increase the profitability of domestic business. This is one of the important motivations for foreign investment is to reduce the cost of production by taking advantage of the cheap labor for example, while in some cases the whole manufacturing of a product may be carried out in foreign locations. In some cases, only certain stages of it are done abroad. A significant share of the merchandise imported into the United States is manufactured by foreign branches of American companies. Several American companies ship parts and components to overseas locations where the labor intensive assembly operations are carried out and then the product is brought back home. The North America Free Trade Agreement, comprising the United States, Canada, and Mexico, is expected to encourage large relocation of production to Mexico, where the labor is substantially cheap. Growth opportunities. An important reason for going international is to take advantage of the opportunities in other countries. Multinational companies are getting increasingly interested in a number of developing countries as the income and population are rapidly rising in these countries. Of the 1 billion people estimated to be added to the world population between 1999 and 2014, only about 3% will be in the high income economies. As pointed out in the preceding and following subsections, many companies could achieve the growth they realize only because of the foreign markets. Foreign markets in both developed countries and developing countries provide enormous growth opportunities for the developing country firms too. For example, in recent years, a number of Indian pharmaceutical firms have achieved a much faster growth of their foreign business than the domestic. The US market alone is expected to contribute as much as half of the total sales. Domestic market constraints. Domestic demand constraints drive many companies to expanding the market beyond the national border. The market for a number of products tends to saturate or decline in the advanced countries. This often happens when the market potential has been almost fully tapped. In the United States, for example, the stock of several consumer durables like cars, TV sets, etc. exceeds the total number of households. Estimates are that in the first quarter of the 21st century, the population in some of the advanced economies would saturate or would grow very negligibly, while in some others there would be a decline. Such demographic trends have very adverse effects on certain lines of business. For example, the in the birth rise rate fall in the birth rate implies contraction of market for several body products. Another type of domestic market constraint arises from the scale economies. The technological advances have increased the size of the optimum scale of operation substantially in many industries, making it necessary to have foreign market. In addition to the domestic market, ma- to take advantage of the scale economies, it is in addition to the domestic market to take advantage of the scale economies. It is the thrust given to exports that enable certain countries like South Korea to set up economic size plants. In the absence of foreign markets, domestic market constraint comes in the way of benefiting from the economies of scale in some industries. For example, a certain chemical product, the minimum economic size of the plant is 35,000 tons, but the demand for it in India by the end of the last century was expected to be less than 10,000 tons. Particularly when the domestic market is very small, internationalization is the only way to achieve significant growth. For example, Nestle derives only about 2% of its sales from its home market, Switzerland. Similarly, with only 8% of the total sales coming from the home market, Holland, many different national subsidiaries of the Philips have contributed much larger share of total revenues than the parent company. Domestic recession often provokes companies to explore foreign markets. One of the factors which prompted the Hindustan Machine Tools Limited to take up exports very seriously was the recession in the home market in the late 1960s. The recession in the automobile industry in the early 1990s similarly encouraged several Indian auto component manufacturers to explore or give a thrust to foreign markets. Even when the domestic market presents good growth prospects, foreign markets may be more attractive. For example, a number of Indian pharmaceutical firms have been deriving major part of their growth from abroad. The US generics market, for instance, provides an enormous opportunity for Indian firms. The size of this market will expand substantially as number of products will be going off patent in the near future in the US. Competition may become a driving force behind internationalization. A protected market does not normally motivate companies to seek business outside the home market. Until the liberalization, which started in July 1991, the Indian economy was highly protected market. Not only that, the domestic producers were protected from foreign competition, but also domestic competition was restricted by several policy induced entry barriers operated by such measures as industrial licensing and MRTP regulations. Being in a seller's market, the Indian companies in general did not take the foreign market seriously. The economic liberalization ushered in India since 1991, which has increased competition from foreign firms as well as from those within the country, have, however, significantly changed the scene. Many Indian companies are now systematically planning to go international in a big way. Many companies also take an offensive international competitive strategy by way of counter competition. The strategy of counter competition is to penetrate the home market of the potential foreign competitor so as to diminish its competitive strength and to protect the domestic market share from foreign penetration. Effective counter competition has a destabilizing impact on the company's cash flows, product related competitiveness, and decision making about integration. Direct market penetration can drain vital cash flows from the foreign company's domestic operations. This drain can result in lost opportunities, reduced income, and limited production, impairing the competitor's ability to make overseas trust. Thus, IBM moved early to establish a position of strength in the Japanese mainframe computer industry before two key competitors, Fujitsu and Hitachi, could also gain dominance. Holding almost 25% of the market, IBM denied its Japanese competitors vital cash flow and production experience needed to invade the US market. They lacked sufficient resources to develop the distribution and software capabilities essential for success in America. So the Japanese have finally entered into joint ventures with US companies having distribution and software skills. Fujitsu with PRW, Hitachi with National Semiconductor. In fact, Fujitsu case it was an ironic reversal of the counter competitive strategy by expanding abroad to increase its economies of scale for the fight with IBM back home. Texas Instruments established semiconductor production facilities in Japan to prevent Japanese manufacturers from their own markets. Even after such much development work, the Japanese producers could muster neither the R&D resources nor manufacturing capability to compete at home or overseas with acceptable product in sufficiently large quantities. General Electric US by licensing its advanced gas turbine technology to foreign producers who were potential major competitors created a captive market for its technology among such heavyweights as AEG Germany, Hitachi Japan, Nuovo Pignon Italy, and Alstom Atlantic France in their respective countries. This move has eliminated competition for the huge US market from these sources. In the early 1990s, in the early 1990s, an Indian company, Wires and Fabrics, decided to substantially increase its exports because, among other things, the management thought that instead of waiting for the global onslaught into India, we will fight them in their playing field. Although counter-competitive moves by Indian companies are not very conspicuous, there are indeed several Indian companies who look upon foreign business as a means inter alia to improve their competitiveness in the domestic market. Government policies and regulations. Government policies and regulations may also motivate internationalization. There are both positive and negative factors which could cause internationalization. Many governments offer a number of incentives and other positive support to domestic companies to export and to invest in foreign countries. Similarly, several countries give a lot of importance to import development and foreign investment. Sometimes, as was the case in India, companies may be obliged to earn foreign exchange to finance their imports and to meet certain other foreign exchange requirements like payment of royalty, dividend, etc. Further, in India, permission to enter certain industries by the large companies and foreign companies was subject to specific export obligations. Some companies also move to foreign countries because of certain regulations like the environmental laws in advanced countries. Government policies which limit the scope of business in the home country may also provoke companies to move to the other countries. Here is an interesting case. In the early 1970s, having failed to make any headway within India, the only alternative left for the Birlas was to set up industries in other countries, and it put up several successful companies in all the Asian countries. This was surely a paradox. The same government which refused the permission to set up manufacturing capacities within the country allowed us to set up industries outside the country for the same products for which it had said no in India. Thus, we set up a viscous staple fiber plant in Thailand and started exporting fiber back to India. According to only one, according to one study, pre-liberalization period, the evidence suggests that one of the most important motivations behind foreign direct investment by Indian firms has been the desire to escape the contrasting effects of Government of India's policies. It appears that number of Indian locally domiciled foreign collaboration industries, those involved in manufacturing at least, go overseas to avoid a policy environment that restricts their domestic growth and undermines their competitiveness to the extent that foreign direct investment from India takes place for such negative reasons. The phenomenon may be regarded as disguised form of capital flight from India. With most recent changes in the government of India's economic policy, the situation, however, has changed. Many Indian companies are entering international markets or are expanding their international operations because of positive reasons. Monopoly power. In some cases, international business is a corollary of the monopoly power, which a firm enjoys internationally. Monopoly power may arise from such factors as monopolization of certain resources, rights, technological advantage, product differentiation. Such monopoly power need not necessarily be absolute one, but even a dominant position may facilitate internationalization. Spin-offs of international business. International business has certain spin-offs too. It may help the company to improve its domestic business. International business helps to improve the image of the company. There may be the white skin advantage associated with exporting. When domestic consumers get to know that the company is selling a significant portion of the production abroad, they will be more inclined to buy from such a company. International business direction of exports is the economic incentives offered by the government. Strategic vision. The systematic and growing internationalization of many companies is essentially a part of their business policy or strategic management. The stimulus for internationalization comes from the urge to grow, the need to become more competitive, the need to diversify and to gain strategic advantages of internationalization. Many companies in India, like several pharmaceutical firms, have realized that a major part of their future growth will be in the foreign market. There are a number of corporations which are truly global. Planning of manufacturing facilities, logistical systems, financial flows, and marketing policies in such corporations are done considering the entire world as it and a single market, a borderless world. International orientation. The degree and nature of involvement in international business or international orientation of companies vary widely. The analysis provided by Wind, Douglas, and Perlmutter within the framework of the modified EPRG scheme is helpful in understanding the levels of involvement of firms in international business. And uh, these stages are assumed to reflect the goals and philosophies of the company in so far as international operations are concerned and will lead to different management strategies and planning procedures for international operations. And that's the end of our uh, narration today. Okay, and we'll continue in the next video.